The show is brought to you by Rudus Metal Detectors, makers of the Alter 71. Discover new possibilities at rudus.com.pl.
I just can't believe that, we're now Lego figures, you and I.
Well, I was already a Lego figure. I've already got my own Sig Pig.
Yeah, so I'm glad now I got my, what is it, the Lego tape on top of the computer now, so I can put my minifigs on there. And so I'm going to have me sitting on top, staring at me, staring at you. So,
and I was actually really impressed with how they turned out.
They do. They look fantastic.
They turned out really good. So the idea is John and I will take these out while we're metal detecting. And when we find something cool, we'll, do like a bricks to meet photography thing in the field with the find, or even just around the place. It's stuff that I used to do when I was going out by myself. But
because hopefully starting next month, I'm going to be finally getting back out and go metal detecting somewhere nearby.
I normally just go out on the weekends. Catherine will normally be sleeping in, so I tend to go out in the mornings, but more often than not, if I'm going out with John, we go out for the whole day.
Yeah.
So we're going out tomorrow. We hadn't really planned much because I sort of had this other thing on with this other person, and that didn't eventuate. So I said, "Oh, what are you up to on the weekend?" He goes, "Oh, I'm doing this stuff with my wife, and I'm not really doing anything on Sunday." So I said, "Oh, right, okay. Well, I was going to go out tomorrow." And he goes, "Oh, well, if you go out Sunday, let me know." Let me just check with the boss. Hey, can I hang out with John on Sunday? Yeah, all right.
She said,
all
yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, Catherine's pretty, I don't know if I told you, but in our wedding vows, I said, I altered what had been given to us, and I changed the promises to say that Catherine would promise me that I could go out metal detecting whenever I wanted. And my promise to her was that she could buy as many shoes as she wanted. and she's made good on that promise.
So have you. Be honest.
Yeah, so have I. Let's give it up.
Well, as you know, this is Global Detection Adventures, the GDA radio podcast. My name is Lance Goolsby. Thank you so much for joining us. Along with me on the very opposite side of the world, we're about to collide with the same kind of weather pattern in the next couple months as we go into spring and they go into fall. So, it's so weird.
We call it autumn, right?
Well, we call it that way too. Yeah, so we got 42 sitting down under. She's currently sitting upside down in Australia, down there in, where is it? Adelaide, Australia, correct?
Adelaide.
Yeah.
Yes, good old Adelaide. Well, we like to call it Radelaide because it's rad.
But yeah, she's trading up her drop bears for all the people coming onto her permissions and getting them ready to go. So, yeah. So this is,
yeah.
I know I'm very excited. I know I have been out of commission basically since September last year. Haven't been able to go metal detecting. My metal detector is all bagged up right beside me right now. In fact, I got to go put some new cable clamps on it. And I got all my other ones are just collecting dust down in the cellar. My XP is down there just screaming for me to walk out with it.
I don't know how you do it. I really don't. I think I would go nuts if I couldn't go out.
I am starting to seriously lose any kind of drive to even do the podcast. I am going into this really dark hole of depression of metal detecting. It's really bad. I don't get it.
Oh, well, that just means I have to find more stuff and show it to you.
Yeah, well, you definitely do that. Definitely do that. But yeah, we're going to be doing a kind of fun show. This is kind of an impromptu show today. We're going to be talking about how to identify finds. So definitely check that out. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think a lot of people around the world, even if you are in countries we are not covering, it might be that you find something that was from one of these countries that we're going to talk about. And we're going to make it a lot easier for you to identify when it was made and where it was made. And this will definitely be something that I think everybody will actually really enjoy listening to. And I know we were just doing a little bit of research just moments ago before the show, and we got into a really big rabbit hole looking up something you got at a flea market, actually. And it was just so much fun looking it up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the things that you find at a garage sale. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to spend my $1 on that, and I will, just for the fun of looking up when that was made.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's actually a really fun little bit, and but we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut on over to the shout outs.
Yeah, so this week's shout outs for me are for the 2 competition winners. So for those of you who follow the Facebook information, over the last couple of weeks I've put out a competition where I've said, who can guess the oldest coin that I find on this day that I've got metal detecting? You've got 24 hours to put in a response, and the person who is the closest to without going over that date gets a prize. And the prize is just some coin from my personal collection that I have dug up. So the first one who won that was Gary Smith, and he guessed 1901, and the oldest coin I found that day was a 1924 Commonwealth of Australia penny. So he received a nice little silver coin, which was a 1941 King George VI threepence.
Oh, that's nice.
I love finding threepences. They're really, really tiny. They're made out of silver. In Australia, they're either sterling silver or 50% silver. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's in the 40s when that date changes. I think it's 40 up to 43 or 44. They're sterling, and after that, they're 50%. And they're just a real treat to find.
It's kind of like the German 3 Kreutzer that I'm holding up to the camera for her to look at. I mean, this thing is...
Yeah, which I can't see because it's all blurry.
Yeah, it is just about the size of my fingertip, and I think that's kind of like the size of your threepence. So
yeah,
this is teeny.
Yeah, I find them a real treat to find because they're silver, they're tiny, and the Australian ones I think have got quite a nice design on them. That's a sheaf of wheat in that particular vintage. The early ones, the King George V ones, they had a coat of arms on them. So congratulations to Gary with that one.
Yeah, good job.
The next winner was Chris Wright. So he actually correctly guessed the actual date on a find that I had last weekend, which was
point to the point.
Sorry?
He actually guessed the actual date?
Yeah, he got the actual date. There was quite a lot of entries on that particular day, and he successfully guessed the actual date. So that was an 1889 British halfpenny. So
wow.
Up until 1910, Australia used the British coins, and then from 1910 onwards, we started to use Australian coins. So I think the first coins in Australia minted with silver, and then the coppers came along in 1911.
Wow.
So he correctly guessed that. And that particular coin was found on a private commission at a metal detecting event. And the next coin that I saw that day, so there could have been others that I didn't see, but the one I found was 1889, and the next oldest coin was 1919. There were a couple of other items that were older than that. There were some dog registration tags that were found from the I think the one I saw was 1902 or 1901. But in terms of coins, the one that I found, I think, was the oldest.
I was guessing like 2018 because I was just figuring you were going to dig in your pocket.
No, You would not have won, Lance, with that. Yes. You're quite a few years out.
Yeah. I'm not good at guessing. Sorry.
So while I was there, it was a detecting event. So there were some seared targets. There were some targets that were things that you can commonly find, like your thribbenses or your British pennies, and they were buried at known depths. So it was like a test bed for people to try out their detectors on, and to see whether they could get the coins. Now I was using my high frequency XP coil, so I was never going to get the thrippence at 300 mil, not without fiddling some settings. But I wasn't interested in doing that. I just gone, okay, this is what that would. Okay, I'm not going to find coins with this coil. I might need to get the 13-inch coil. But there was another bed where they deliberately seeded some targets that were buried, and you paid $1. I think it might have been $2. You had paid your money, and then you were given a go find metal detector. So everybody used the same detector, and you paid your money, you got your detector, and then you go along, and then you got to dig a target. You could pick whatever target you wanted, but you got to pick whatever target you got. You dug that, and that was your prize. And they put some really good prizes in it. They had I think it was a gold coin. They had some gold rings. They had some silvers. They had a round 50-cent piece, which was the first 50-cent piece that Australia had made. It was made 50% silver, but they only did it for the 1 year. I've never found one except in change. I'd love to find one. That's on my to-do list. And I didn't actually have a go at that because by the time I got to it, all of the good targets were gone, and I thought, I couldn't be bothered. I'm too interested in finding other things. But the day started at 8:30 in the morning, and there was a tree. And I didn't go to the tree until after lunch. And everybody knows the best place to go is under trees.
Yeah.
Or the clothesline, but there wasn't a clothesline.
The bigger the tree, the better the hunt.
The bigger the tree. And this was quite a large tree. It cast out a lot of shade, and it was next to a driveway. Which is another good place to go.
Yeah.
So it's 3 or 4 hours after the event has started. The guy who's pulling out dog tags left, right, and centre was finding them under that tree, and I think I think he found his coins around there too. So while they're doing the panning demonstration, the gold panning demonstration, I'd watched it. And I thought, okay, I've got the knack of this now. I'm going to go back to metal detecting. So John and I, we go back off to detecting, and we go to the tree. And we're sort of detecting around, swinging. And by this stage, I had borrowed somebody's 11 by 13-inch coil for the XP because I wanted to give it a crack. And they said I could borrow it. I was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
The thing was heavy. It's heavy for me. I've got bony girl arms, but I was using it anyway just to get a feel for it. And the area was really quite noisy in terms of trash. There was quite a few trashy sort of signals. But anything that was half decent, I'm going to dig this. So I did. The first few targets I got were trash, ring pulls and other melted slag stuff. And then I had this other signal that was reading in the rubbish zone, but it gave off a solid signal. So I dug it, and I popped out the soil, and I could just see this tiny little bit of a gold arc. And I've just gone, what is that? Is that a cut piece of pipe? No, it's actually completely circular. Oh, hang on, there's this little knobbly bit. Oh, my God, it's a diamond ring. Turns out that what it was a diamond ring, which I will get valued at some stage. And it's stamped 18-karat gold. But the thing was, so many people had walked over it and dismissed it. Even the guy who was pulling out the dog tags, he said, I probably walked over that. John said, I probably walked over that. The moral of the story is you got to dig that rubbish signal to get that real treasure. It was a rubbish signal. It was jumpy, but I had attributed that to being interference from potential other targets because I was using such a large coil. If I had had a smaller coil on it, probably would have been quite a nice solid signal. It was a solid signal through the audio, but I used the XY chart on the screen, and it was jumping all over the place. But I thought, well, it's a solid signal. I'm going to dig it anyway. I was very glad that I did.
Yeah, that's one of the things with the XP. You really need to listen to the tones. A lot of people do still look at that screen, like using the XY screen that you were using, but that's just it's not something that you can really rely on. Those tones are the thing that you can really rely on with the XP days.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I pulled it out, and I've just gone, this is a ring. It's a diamond ring. People are coming over and having a look, and they're going, wow, that's amazing. And then everybody starts detecting around me.
It seems to always be that way.
Yeah. So it wasn't very long before that ring was whisked away and showed off to other people, so I could continue detecting around. I had to actually move a little bit because there was too much interference. But at the end of the day, I could not just take that ring home. I had to. I asked the guys. I said, "What were the rules about if you found something like this?" It was a penny. A penny's a penny.
Yeah. Unless
it was like the 1827 rare penny or the 1930 Australian penny. You would just pocket those, but this was a diamond ring. You could have had it. It was private property. It was the family's property, and I thought this could be somebody's heirloom that got lost. So we walked up to the owner's house, which was a couple of 100 meters away, and we knocked on the door, and he came out and said, "Oh, how you going? You have any luck?" And I said, "Yeah, here we go." And I found this. Do you know of anybody who's lost something on your property, like a family member? And he's just going, no, I don't know of anybody who's lost it. No one's reported anything to me in the past. I don't know if any like a parent or a grandparent has lost anything in the past. And he allowed me to keep it because it didn't have any meaning to him.
That's amazing.
So, it was amazing. And I felt a lot better as well, because it would have been really easy for me to just pocket it and not report it. But I'm not that kind of person. It's just, this could have value. It could have a sentimental value. It might not have a dollar value, but it could have a sentimental value. Go up there, knock on his door, and he said I could have it. So I will get it valued because it's quite a large stone.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful ring, and it's got that large stone on it, and it has, I guess you could say, the ring itself kind of terminates on two ends around the diamond itself. It's a really beautiful ring.
Yeah. So I'll get it checked out. But what I'm mostly interested in is the date. How old is this thing?
Mm.
And so I started to do a little bit of research into how can you date jewelry.
Yeah,
because they're not like a coin. They don't have a little date stamped on them a lot of the time.
Yeah,
there's other things on it.
Well, I hate having to interrupt the show, but, we got to pay these bills. Hey, do you guys know about the Rudu's Ultra 71? Now, I know I talk about it a lot, but I love this metal detector, so I'm going to keep talking about it as much as I can. And not just because they sponsor the show, that's a plus for me, but because this is by far one of the greatest machines that I've used. Go over to their website, rudus.com.pl, and check it out for yourself. It's not available everywhere yet. You can find places where you can actually find a distributor near you if it is available. Check it out under rudus.com.pl. If you have other questions, feel free to ask me and I can get in touch with them for you. Check them out, the Rudus Ultra 71, a great metal detector for beginners all the way up to the seasoned professionals. Check it out at rudus.com.pl.
Rock metal detecting. Hey GDA, the metal detecting, Big Silver. I am having a lovely weekend. So everyone get out there and rock metal detecting. Siren Kimmy, rock metal detecting. Hey Lance, hey GDA, Siren Kimmy here, Girls Rock Metal Detecting. I'm just taking a quick break from metal detecting to check in with you guys. I had 2 pieces of news. Some breaking news for you. The first piece of information I want to share with you, which I have not shared to my page yet or to my channel, is I am currently testing out a new metal detector. That's right. I have gotten my hands on a Nokta Macro Amphibio Multi, And I have been doing some relic hunting and coin shooting, hitting some places that I've hit before, and I'm getting pretty impressed because I'm finding some things that I've missed. And so I'm going to share that with y'all on my channel, The Girls Rock Metal Detecting on YouTube, and also posting finds and stuff on my page. And also, the other piece of news is my group. I finally caved in and went ahead and started a group on Facebook. As you may know, I already had a page, Girls Rock Metal Detecting, but I've decided to open it up to a group where we can interact and make it more of a community, and mostly because I've seen a little bit of a need for an informational resource. I have all kinds of documentation on research and everything from the basics of metal detecting all the way up to how to do online searches. I think it's going to be really beneficial not only for the beginning detectorists, but also for the advanced detectorists, because it's going to be somewhat of a research library. So I think this is going to make our group a little bit different than what you're used to seeing on Facebook. And I really think it will be a valuable tool. So I hope you will come and join. It is not called Girls Rock Metal Detecting, though. We have named it We Rock Metal Detecting, brought to you by Girls Rock Metal Detecting. Mostly because the guys were getting a little confused, thinking that they weren't allowed in, thinking that it was an all-girl group. In addition, I've kind of teamed up with Heavy Metal Detecting and the 1800s Club to help me out a little bit with the group. And so there we have it. It's We Rock Metal Detecting. So I hope you will come on over to Facebook and join the group and see what it's all about. I think you'll really find some value in it. And again, sign up to Girls Rock Metal Detecting, subscribe on YouTube, because we got that Amphibio, the testing coming up soon. And as always, have a great week, you guys, and I will see you soon. And don't forget, rock metal detecting.
Yeah, that's one of those things that a lot of people try and figure out exactly how you can date jewelry and stuff, because, you know, places like England, they have what is it called? They have the
Hallmark.
Yeah, the hallmarks that are on
and
there.
a date stamp.
And they have an assay office as well, so they have their standard for it. So you can get all the information you want off of that. But, you know, places like Australia, as we'll find out, they didn't have that until 1988. The United States still doesn't have that, and there's still a lot of other countries that don't have this kind of consumer protection when it comes to gold and silver and everything else. So it's really kind of tough to date a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so one of the things about this ring that when I tried to date it, and bear in mind, this is me looking at stuff on the internet to try and get a date. Obviously, if you find something, the best way to do it is to go and get it professionally assessed. Mm. But if you're just looking for a ballpark figure, then there's a few things that you can use to try and get that for you. So what I started looking at was the cut of the diamond. So the diamond in this ring is round, and it looks to be like it's what they call a brilliant cut. And the brilliant cut diamond was sort of started in the early 1900s, sort of gained momentum towards the 20s onwards. So anything that's that round, brilliant cut is likely to be post-1920. So you got other kinds of cuts. You got the Edwardian cut, you've got the old European style cut, and there's a whole bunch of other ones. And they were popular in certain eras. So if you find a ring and you've got this particular kind of cut, you can hazard a guess as to saying this could be belonging to this particular date range. You could also have a later ring that's been made in that style. So you can't say for sure with absolute certainty that, yes, it was an Edwardian ring or a Georgian ring. You can't say for certainty without other evidence. But you could hazard a guess to say it could be this. This is where the evidence is leading towards.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's the styles. You can definitely find a lot of styles and stuff like that online as well. So it'll definitely help identify.
Yeah. The other thing that you can also use is the types of metals that are used in the ring. So this ring that I found has got two types of metals on it. It's got a yellow gold and it's got another metal which looks sort of silvery or white. So I'm guessing that it's probably white gold. It could be platinum, but I think the chances of that are not very high.
No.
So my estimate would be that it would be white gold. So again, Dr. Google tells me that started to become popular in the 1920s as well. So because it's got two different types of metal in it, and because of this round, brilliant cut diamond, I'm guessing that it's 1920 or later.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Those are great little bits of clues that you can definitely get off something like this, especially that when it comes to, like you said, the style of the cut of the diamond. Different generations like their diamonds cut in different styles as well. Some like them hexagon, some like more rounded, more finer cuts when it comes to the diamonds. Yeah, and there's also, it comes down to the style of the cutter as well. So there's a lot of things that you can use to identify a piece of jewelry. But yeah, the style and the style of the diamond are two very big ones, especially with yours. Yours is a big diamond.
And I guess the last thing, and probably one of the most easy ways to be able to date something, is to check out that hallmark. Now, this particular ring doesn't have a hallmark, so that was the first thing that I went for, was the hallmark. Does it have a hallmark? Because a hallmark will have, it will often have, let me say, a maker's mark, an assay office if it was made in the UK, and a date stamp. And what was the other one? I forgot now.
Yeah, it comes down to basically also when.
There were four.
Yeah, it comes down to basically one.
Lost it.
So you're dealing with the location, the type it is. So is it silver? Is it gold? Is it platinum? Is it palladium? So that's the other one. So like sterling silver or silver will have the lion on it as well.
Yeah.
I'd have to look up what the other ones are.
Yeah. So this ring is stamped 18C. And I couldn't actually find a lot of information about what 18C means, other than it's 18 carat. I did find one reference to that was a stamping that was used in England prior to 1975, but it could also be an Australian stamp.
Yeah, it could also be US as well.
Yeah, so just through the design of the ring, like the style of how it's designed in itself, I sort of put the date range between 1920 to 1975, and probably erring more towards the 1975 end. But when I get it valued, and I should be doing that in the coming week or so, I'll ask the person who's doing that valuation to see if they can put a date on it, and I'd be very interested. Very interested to see how well I did.
Yeah, that'd be. By me looking at the photograph that you shared, I'm gonna probably put it on the lower end of that. I'm gonna probably put it in around the 40s, probably the mid 40s. So 1940, I don't know, 41 to 44, somewhere around that time frame. I have an idea of what may have happened. You know, it might have been a sweetheart ring or something like that from soldiers taken off. I mean, if it was sitting next to a tree, you could just imagine, you know, a woman and her soldier friend, you know, leaning against it prior to him shipping out. So it could have been anything from that time frame.
Well, she could have been angry with him and throw it away.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of tumultuous history that was happening at that time in Australia. So it could be anything, but I'm going to say it's from 1941 to 45. So that's going to be my guess. But yeah, you were saying that, you know, when it comes down to other countries like the UK, now we're going to stick with Australia for a second, but like the UK, Australia was realizing that there was a lack of some kind of a consumer protection when it came to the purchase of gold and silver and platinum and palladium. And so in 1988, the Gold and Silver Guild of Australia was founded. And since then, in Australia, they have been using a type of hallmarking on the rings. So if you guys want to find out about this, there is, if you're in Australia or think you may have found an Australia ring, which is really simple to figure it out because one of the stamps in the ring or part of the hallmark is a symbol of Australia itself. So it's pretty simple to figure out that this is Australia. But there is a website called gsga.org.au. Check that out. That's gsga.org.au. That's going to be in the write-up on this. You can also find it on the website, gdapod.com. All the links are going to be on gdapod.com, so make sure you check that out. But they include the location if it was made in Australia. The GSGA is for anything made in Australia. It tells you exactly what type of metal it is. It gives the guild mark on there, and the last one is the year, like we were talking about. So it's really simple to identify the type of gold and when it was made, or silver and platinum and everything else. When we go over to the UK, go ahead. What was it?
Oh, no, I was just going to just make an addition to when you were saying about the year. It's important to look for the fine details in those years. Generally they'll be letters. In Australia, in this SGSA or whatever it's called,
GSGA.
they for significant years they've used other symbols. Like for 1988, which was the centenary of our bicentenary, they used 200. But in general, it's going to be a letter. So it's important to be aware of the fine details on those letters. What font is it? Does it have a serif? Is it a capital? What is the shape that it's been stamped into? Is it like a little Pac-Man ghost, or is it a triangle, or is it a square?
Yeah.
So the diamond shape. Every tiny little bit of detail will narrow that down to a more exact date. So I think it's also important to note that these they generally don't use the letter I because it can get confused with other letters like J and L.
Yeah.
So they'll change from year to year. They'll index from one letter to the next, and then once they get to Z, then they go to a capital version, or they'll change the font, or they'll change the shape in which it's imprinted. So just because you've got a letter K does not necessarily mean it's this year. It has to be the letter K of that font in that shape.
Yeah, like in Australia, for example, from 1988 to 1999, they used capital letters that were more cursive shaped. And then after the year 2000, they used lower cases in a more block style writing. So if you get, for example, a ring that has a U in it, and it is a very clean, uncursive U, it's really simple to tell the difference between the two because the only time it's been used is 1994 and 2018. So it's really simple to cut it down into the year, especially when it comes to Australia. When it comes to England, it's a little bit more complicated since it has been around since the 1300s. But there are websites to really help you break it down to the style. And then I guess we can kind of buzz over to across the Pacific and the Atlantic and land up in the UK. If you go to a website called www.assayofficelondon.co.uk, the Assay is spelled ASSAY, officelondon.co.uk. You can find out some information there as well. This is the head assayer's office in Britain. They do have a link for all the information you need to know about hallmarks, but it does get a little tough because they don't give all the years of the hallmarks that are in there. There are different ways to look it up. You can look, for example, when it comes to maker's marks, because UK has maker's marks in there as well. So you can go to a website called silvermakersmark.co.uk and find it out based on the location where they were made. You can go to all kinds of other places and start piecing together all those little stamps that are inside a ring. For the most part, there are 4 different locations where a ring is going to be made in the UK. We're looking at which ones are they? We're looking at
Birmingham,
yeah.
London, Sheffield, and Edinburgh.
Yeah, exactly. There were some other ones prior as well. Those other ones that are prior to that are Chester, Dublin, Edinburgh, Exeter, Glasgow, London, Newcastle, Sheffield, York, and Birmingham. So you can go to that silvermakersmarks.co.uk and click on whichever mark it shows inside whatever it is that you're holding and find out exactly what year it was made based on the letters of the maker.
So I just want to say that it's important to identify the assay office mark first. So you've got London, which is the head of the lion. You've got Birmingham, which is the anchor. You got to go to that assay office's date mark.
Yeah, that's the
page.
Because with all those different marks on there, it kind of gets frustrating. But trust me, it is a rabbit hole that is extremely fun to go down. It really is. I mean, me and 42 were doing this with a piece of silver that she found at a garage sale. What was it? A button hook?
It was a button hook, yeah. So it's broken. It was a piece of steel. It's probably about 6 inches long with a little tiny hook on it, and at the handle end was just a fancy design that was obviously broken at the end, and I could just see that they were made out of 2 metals, and one end looked like it had hallmarks, and I was just going, I'll pay $1 because I just want to see what these things say.
So it ended up having what looked like the initials, the WD, but the W is kind of worn off. There was an anchor and a lion, the side view of a lion, and then the letter H inside of it. And that's what started us into this kind of deep dive. And so you were the first one to actually find the first clue, I believe, with the letter H.
Yeah, I picked the H, and I picked them all. I mean, I've done this for a while now, so I know that the anchor is Birmingham. So I've just gone, well, that's Birmingham. The macro lens that I was using has a narrow sort of angle of focus on it. So some of the mark is actually a little bit blurry, but it definitely looks like an H, and you can clearly make out the anchor, the D, the line, and the line stands for sterling silver.
Yeah.
And then make out the H. And based on the other evidence that you've got there, you can say that H means it was 1907.
And then I was looking up the D because it was really hard to make out the W to begin with. But 42 looked at it again, and she's like, well, could it possibly be a W in front of it? And once I had that news, I was able to locate on silvermakersmarks.co.uk, silvermakersmarks.co.uk, that those initials were registered to a William Davenport from the years 1903 to 1910. This guy was around from 1893 to 1948, but this specific style was registered 1903 to 1910. And it says that it was used on button hooks, and that narrowed it down to exactly when and who made that exact piece of equipment she was holding in her hand. It was a really fun little trip.
And that's why I paid $1. I think it was worth $1.
I think I'm going to be looking out for more silver with this flea market season starting up. I think it's really fun to do that. I might just take photographs while I'm out there and just start the deep dive.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I go to a garage sale and I see something like that, I always check to see if it's got a hallmark on it. Not because it could have any value, but just to see where things were made and can I nut this out? Can I solve this puzzle?
Yeah, because it's so cool seeing that this was designed by a guy named William Davenport at Spencer Street in Birmingham, England in 1907. I mean, we have the very specific time frame and person who actually designed and made that silver piece. It's just so amazing, and just I think it's so cool. And I think more of the world should use this kind of hallmarking to help identify and safeguard the consumer from fake gold or fake silver. I think it should be a law that any kind of gold or silver needs to have this.
Yeah, I thought it was a law, but it appears only to be a law in the UK, and I think even in Australia, I think it's elective to use those markings.
Yeah, it is. It's just one of those things.
in the way that we described earlier by that
the GSGA.
Yeah. I think it's a law that you have to stamp it with the percentage of gold.
Percentage.
It's
just like that
9-carat or
in the United States.
I think they use numbers today.
Yeah, the United States is exactly the same way. You know, it needs to show exactly what kind of silver is in it. I mean, in Germany, it's the same way. I have that ring which is actually a pretty cool story. I shared photos of it, I think, last year. A ring that's been in my family for generations, and I found it again. Everybody thought it was lost, and in '95, I found it in the back of a jewelry box that my grandmother left my mother after she died. So after a long search, I found out that this ring, what I thought had come from my grandfather in World War II, had actually come from my great-grandfather in World War I when he returned.
Oh, wow.
It was a donation ring. So people in World War I would donate money to the Germans, to the German government, to help support the war effort. And they would get this ring as kind of a thank you back from the government. And there were many, many, many styles of this type of ring. This was just the one that my grandfather somehow got. Very small ring. It was like a child's ring. He brought it back with him from World War I and gave it to my great-grandmother. And so it has a stamp in it, and we were trying to figure out exactly how to date it. And it did have basically a second kind of stamp that we were able to, me and a friend were able to narrow it down to exactly a year that it was made, and it was 1914, I believe, when it was actually made. We just don't know where, we don't know for which company or how he got it or anything else. All that information has been lost to unbelievable history. But yeah, it's got those marks in it, and it still says 925 silver. So a lot of people know that 925 silver is a very good. The 925 means it's 92.5% silver. You can basically, if you want to know what kind of silver or gold it is, the first two numbers are the percentage, and the last number is the post-decimal. So if it's 325 gold, it's going to be 32.5%. So that's a good thing to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's if you need information on how to get information on hallmarks or dates of rings. One of the best thing you can do, like 42's doing, take it down to a jewelry store. They are trained professionals. They know how to look for this kind of stuff. They might not be able to give you an exact date, but they might be able to give you a ballpark figure to get it into an accurate time frame. Unless it's hallmarked, you're not going to know. If you have something that's Hallmark that you need information, feel free to reach out to me or 42. We can lead you in the right directions, or check out gdapod.com under the show notes, and we'll have the information right there, a couple links that'll take you right to the places, and you can definitely check it out right there.
Yeah, we will. I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
Send them. Bring it. Oh, yeah, send them. If you don't know, the key to doing that though is a good, clear, close-up photograph of the hallmark.
Yeah.
If you can, you can buy little attachments for your phone camera that will have a little macro feature to them. Get something like that, or if you've got a magnifying glass, try and take a photo through the magnifying glass. They don't work as well as what, say, one of these macro attachments will, but you can pick some. You can get some cheap ones which will still get in close. The more expensive ones will give you a better quality photo. But I've got one of each. I've got a cheap one and an expensive one.
Yeah, I've got I think I paid $10 for the set I got, and I've used it. It came with a macro lens. It also came a micro lens. It also came with a macro fish eye, which was good for filming certain things as well too. So it's a really good set. You can find them on Amazon for a really decent prices.
Yeah, if you're in Australia, they sell them at Daiso.
If you're over here in Germany,
that's where I got mine.
If you're here in Germany, they sell them at Kick sometimes, so check it out.
Yeah. And some cameras actually, like some point and shoot cameras, have a macro feature, so you can also utilize that on your point and shoots. I've got a couple of them, and I can get some really close up photos of dates and hallmarks and stuff just with that particular camera.
Yeah, you can also use an SLR camera and put it onto the macro the macro setting, and actually use a zoom lens to get in there as well. I've used that as well. But that's a lot more difficult to get it focused in place. You got to change an automatic focus SLR camera into manual and make sure it's on a tripod. It's a lot more difficult. Yeah.
But if you need help and you've got a good quality photo, please feel free to send it in.
Absolutely.
We'll try and do our best to help you out.
We're here for you. And if we can't help you, we got hundreds and hundreds of people online that are absolutely eager to jump on the chance for any kind of a challenge. And they will love to do it. If you have anything that you found that you want help identifying, get in touch with us. We'll definitely give a chance, give that a shot. And we might be 99.99% wrong, but that 1/100th of a percent is going to be right on the nose. So don't believe everything that comes out of my mouth. But I think that was a great show. I think there's a lot of information there for everybody. And, where can they find us?
Facebook. Like Global Detection Adventures.
Yeah, and then on Instagram, also Global Detection Adventures. And then go to GDA.
The website.
Yeah, GDApod.com. And check it out. If you want to just download the audio, you can download it straight from the website now. Newest episode is always at the top, and we got the entire library right there on the homepage. You can just scroll down. You'll find it there. You can download every single episode right from the website. It's absolutely free and there for you guys. We're going to be starting to share some video as well. I'm going to be doing some videos here of some of my favorite finds while I'm out metal detecting and why I actually really like them. So that's going to be fun sharing with you guys. So expect to see those popping up on the website as well too. But, Cord2, you got anything else? You want to say hi to someone?
No. I'll be seeing him tomorrow.
I'm going to be saying hey to my dad, as always. Thank you, Dad, for listening. Love you, bud. I hope everything's going good out there. I heard it finally stopped snowing, so I'm glad about that.
Bring on the warmer weather for you. Bring on the cooler weather for me.
He's 80 years old, and he's out there shoveling the snow, which is about 1/3 of a meter deep. It's just unbelievable. That guy, he's like a freight train. He's like a freight train. He just keeps going.
Excellent.
It's the old cowboy. But anyway, All right, well, I'm going to see you guys around, from me and 42. As always, we'll see you out on the field, y'all. Let's dig it up.